And we're live. How's everybody doing? Welcome back, Pixel Nation. Comics Division here. How the hell are you? And we have some friends. Special guest, Feisty and Dalton.
Hello.
Hello, all.
And we have some shit to talk about.
So very much.
Or talk some shit about, but no. Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
Sorry. Low-hanging fruit. I had to grab it.
And it was already rotting off the tree. Okay. Anyway, yeah, there's lots today, guys. It's gonna be one of those intense ones.
But before we get into our live roast of Doctor Strange #1 by the illustrious Mark Waid, there's some like breaking news today that came out that I think deserves special attention, and that is the fact that Zoe Quinn herself will be writing a book for DC. And it seems like the Vertigo line is going to be focusing on social issues.
Just reading some of the descriptions on what these books about, I'm just like, oh, this is how can you even like it should just be like one issue. Like, why do you need an ongoing or why do you need a miniseries? Like, it doesn't seem like these ideas can be
because this is important social commentary, you see, and so it doesn't matter if the story and the narrative make absolutely no fucking sense or aren't meritocratic in any way, shape, or form, because we have things to say, you see.
Yeah, I updated the description, guys, with the link to Bleeding Cool if you are so inclined to have their website crash your computer. Yeah, but Vertigo will be launching 7 new socially relevant titles. One of them is called Border Town, and this one's like, yeah, only in 2018, where it's gonna focus on all these like weird things. There's like some sort of rift that opened up in space time, and these Mexican folklore monsters start, piling out into Devil's Fork, Arizona. Of course, they're blaming their god darn illegals.
because we can't go 5 minutes without strawmanning the other political wing, apparently.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Then there's Hex Wives.
Wait, let me read this. Okay,
I'll read this.
So, Hex Wives. The women are too powerful. They must be tamed. A malevolent conspiracy of men brainwashes a coven of witches to be subservient suburban housewives. But it's only a matter of time before the women remember their power. So riveting. So that sounds like really, really. Yeah,
it's essentially what if Charmed did an episode of Stepford Wives. That's literally it. It's what if Charmed
I was thinking the exact same
Wives.
thing. It's fucking Stepford Wives, but with social justice.
And witches, because witches somehow became an allegory for feminists for reasons that I can't and refuse to conjugate properly in my brain.
I love Eric Breen's comment, Vertigo 2018. What do you get when you're tired of being better than Marvel?
Yeah, like it very much seems like DC went, we can't possibly sing to the level of Marvel, and Vertigo went, hold my beer.
Okay, hang on. So Jonah Arts is asking, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about the announcement today that came out with the relaunch of Vertigo, and it's coming out with 7 socially relevant titles. And
in air quotes, socially relevant.
Yes, in air quotes. And the fact that Zoe Quinn will be writing one of them, which we have not gotten to yet. So we've covered Border Town and then Hex Wives. Does somebody want to read the description for American Carnage?
Go ahead, Comix.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is a thrilling saga of a disgraced FBI agent, Richard Wright, who is biracial but can pass for white. He goes undercover in a white supremacist group, believed to be responsible for the deaths of a fellow agent.
Like, I don't think I could facepalm harder. Like,
I can't. Okay, this is my only thought when that description was just read out. My only thought is, okay, so you mean they had a parent of another race, but they don't show the coloration of that parent. You mean they're white, but their parent happened to be black or Asian or whatever other race. So basically, what we're getting is person like Sargon of Akkad, because of course Sargon of Akkad's grandfather was black, and of course he is not black looking at all. That's the only thing I can think of, and yet I have a feeling that just by mentioning that comparison, I might have just made a bunch of SJW's heads explode. So goody.
It just sounds like all these characters have no depth. They're just whatever they are. And that's pretty much, just
they're
par for the core. It's their generic nothing. Yeah, exactly. It just sounds so boring, to be honest. Like
they're vessels for whatever the special class of the day happens to be.
Now we get through all these books. I'll make my kind of comments and thoughts on this, but the next one up is called Goddess Mode, and this is the one who is being written by Zoe Quinn. In a future where all of humanity's needs are administered by a godlike AI, it's one young woman's horrible job to do tech support on it. But when Cassandra finds herself violently drawn into a hidden and deadly digital world beneath our own, she discovers a group of superpowered women and horrific monsters locked in a secret war for the cheat codes to reality.
Okay, so here's my 2 cents on this. Okay, so basically, Zoe, you got so sick of trying and failing to determine that the patriarchy exists in reality that you created a science fiction scenario that is basically techno patriarchy, the AI.
Yeah, or techno matriarchy. I don't know.
It's I would bet money on the fact that it's a male AI.
I'm just facepalming for
probably.
forever. Forever facepalming Feisty.
Forever facepalming.
Infinite facepalm.
Yeah, I can't facepalm harder.
It's one of those facepalms where you actually get the nuclear mushroom cloud.
Yeah, seriously. It hurts my brain. And it sucks too because I'm pretty good friends with the artist and the colorist. So it's like I feel like I kind of have to buy these books to support my friends. So
Aww.
I know.
Sad panda.
I know, right? It's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's not their fault.
James, I don't think that she needs to sleep with anyone anymore to get the job. Not that I think that she... We kind of had a discussion about this briefly when we were explaining what kicked off Gamergate to Feisty, but... I don't know. I think she has I think she has enough infamy and victimization points that it doesn't matter anymore. So
yeah. she's a cultural celebrity. She's essentially geek culture's version of one of the Kardashians.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That is a very good way of putting it.
And it's funny to me if you take this in conjunction with the fact that Anita Sarkeesian is supposed to be a featured guest at Gen Con this year.
There's that.
It does seem very much like the remnants of Gamergate have set their sights on Comicsgate because they know they're losing control of comics slowly but surely. And so they're going into cultural hegemony overdrive. And I hate to be the bearer of... Actually, no, I love being the bearer of this particular bad news, but it's not going to work, ladies. Remember what happened last time you tried that? Remember how spectacularly it bollocks everything up? It's going to again. You are not good at this cultural hegemony thing.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah. So does somebody else want to read High Level?
I'll read it.
Okay.
Okay, so this is High Level. This is the 4th title. Yeah, hundreds of years after the world ended and human society was rebuilt from scratch, a self-inserted smuggler with a price on her head is forced to traverse a new continent of danger and mystery to deliver a child messiah to high level. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, I can't read. A mythical city at the top of the world from which no one has ever returned.
Dun, dun, dun.
You know what this kind of sounds like?
What?
Crap.
and gender flipped solo fan fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I thought it too. I'm like, this is just a female, like, kind of Han Solo, but like mixed in that one movie that was this a Vin Diesel was in? I forget the name of it, but he like was smuggling a chick who had superpower. I don't know. Forget what that was called.
I wouldn't say XXX, but
no, it's not XXX. It's
it's
let me go to IMDb.
What
Vin
you
Diesel.
do instead of things?
I know, right?
Tabitha. Sorry, the cat keeps jumping in my lap. Dalton, would you like to read the description for same sex or safe sex?
I'd have to pull it up. Give me a second.
What is it called?
I can read it really quickly. It's not that long of a description.
Okay. Babylon AD. That's what it was called. AD. Yeah, okay. Babylon AD.
Okay, a dystopian sci-fi thriller about a ragtag team of sex workers fighting for freedom to love in a world where sexual pleasure is monitored, regulated, and policed by the government.
Okay, I said this earlier when we were discussing this on the Discord. What is with the obsession spontaneously with dystopian sci-fi? I'm convinced it's because that's essentially their impression of what real life is like or will be like in a few years, because they consider everything that is, Western meritocracy to be an oppressive patriarchy or curiarchy, depending on how persnickety they are with their social justice terminology.
I might be weird, but I don't see anything wrong with prostitution.
Yeah, I think it should be entirely legalized and regulated, just like every other industry.
Hey, would you guys have objections to me inviting the Batman in?
No, by any means. Get the Batman.
Feisty?
I don't care. It's your show.
You're allowed to say no. You are my guest.
It's your show. It's your show. That's all I'm saying.
I had a similar reaction to like when I asked to be on earlier, and Division was like, "Let me ask Feisty," and I'm like, "Okay, but."
Oh, well, yeah, I know it's my show, but you guys are my guests, so you have a say in this, which is the reason why I'm asking.
I have no objection.
Yeah.
Okay.
There being no objections, the motion carries.
Okay.
I kind of want to read some of these comments in these. Are you excited? Oh, we have one more to read. So,
who wants to?
I have it up right now. So, okay. So the last one is called Second Coming. God sends Jesus to Earth in hopes that he will learn the family trade from Sunman, an all-powerful superhero who is like the varsity quarterback's son God never had. Wow. But upon his return to Earth, Christ is appalled to discover what has become of his gospel and vows to set the record right. Wow. I'm an atheist, and even I'm offended by it.
Okay,
no.
Like, wow.
This one I might be.
Good evening.
I could
Hello.
Batman.
Hi.
I could potentially see this one working because the writer is someone who has apparently done good work before, and it's comedic in tone. It's not entirely serious in tone. I think it's mostly satirical. However, I do have sort of reservations on the grounds that I hope it doesn't turn into the
let's pwn fundamentalists and evangelicals for 20 pages every book.
Yeah.
Because
It'd get boring quick.
Yeah, it could get boring really quickly.
Yeah, and also it's been done. It's been done to death. That's essentially what a lot of atheist YouTubers did before the social justice invasion happened.
Oh god, yes. You know what was his name? How's Your Father came up with an interesting one. I think it was How's Your Father in the chat there. Yeah, it was How's Your Father. What about Batman meeting the Dark Claw?
That sounds like something I would read.
Yeah.
Anything, honestly, at this point, anything that touches on the Amalgam universe is something that I am in favor of. Because, like, the Amalgam universe needs to be a thing again soon.
Yes, it does. Certain parts of it, not Spider-Boy.
Well, no, but yeah, I definitely want a continuation of Doctor Strange Fate because that is the most. As much as I would just prefer if it had been Strange underneath the helmet of fate rather than bringing Charles Xavier in for reasons, I do still love Doctor Strange Fate. Surprising absolutely no one.
You know what I found interesting about that? I mean, the well done ones like Doctor Strange Fate, Dark Claw, Super Soldier, they were a perfect amalgam of the respective characters, but they produced something totally different. They weren't some of their parts. I mean, because the one I read the most was the Dark Claw. I mean, I reread that a few times. You could see Bruce Wayne, Batman in the Dark Claw and Wolverine, but they were nothing like, if you know what I mean.
They fed off of each other's differences to become a separate entity unto themselves.
Yeah.
Same thing happened with what was the Zatanna Scarlet Witch hybrid? I think it was White Witch. Correct me, people in the comments, if I'm wrong.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Her personality was very different from either Wanda's or Zatanna's, and it really worked. And I liked that she was subservient to Strange Fate, even though she was, I think, technically more powerful than he was.
Okay, hang on. Before we get off topic here, I want to kind of give my closing arguments for the whole thing with the Vertigo relaunch.
By all means.
Okay, all right. So what I had to say here is that I do think that Vertigo or DC is being smart about this, and they're not changing anything in their main universe. They are simply going and saying, well, I mean, you can argue that they're fucking up Vertigo, but maybe. What they're doing is they're not changing anything. They're introducing these new books, and they can literally succeed or fail on their own, and nobody will give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah, like appeasing whatever audience, because I'm sure there's an audience. So there's not, like I say, with the new shoppers or new customers in the store, there's something in here for everybody. I haven't read everything, but I'm sure I can steer you in a direction that you would enjoy. But there's an audience for this. It might be small, but that they get it, and we don't have to touch. And DC doesn't have to touch anything that's going on in their main stories and their main characters and whatnot. So I do agree. Like it's smart, but like how smart though?
Does it even warrant the effort that it currently is being? Because that's the thing that bugs me. If it were proportional to the actual size of what the market appears to be, I would not care. The problem is that because of neo-moral puritanism and the fact that social justice has this institutional power that it has, even the smallest amount of social justice effort gets way more for its proverbial buck than anything that we do generally does, and that kind of pisses me off, because if you want to be technical, the people like us that are against social justice and the people that are just kind of neutral to it and would prefer it not be in their storytelling, I think are the two larger segments of the market. I don't know that, and if someone wants to point me into the direction of statistics that contradict that, please, by all means, citation needed. But yeah, it annoys me that for their power they get far more play, and because we are the quote silent majority unquote, we don't get
the reason why they get so much press is because
moral philosophy, and they've convinced
it's not even the moral philosophy, man. I mean, you have to look at who runs media, who runs the press, the media or whatever. It's the left. It's it's a leftist ideology. It's getting.
That's what I mean. They have the authority of the current moral zeitgeist.
Right.
This is something that makes me chuckle a bit. I mean, you go back to even the 80s and earlier, you find it more in evidence. Comic books used to be kind of anti-establishment. Yeah, the further back you go, the more anti-establishment they were. I mean, they were subtle about it, but they were still anti-establishment. And now they're very much pro-establishment. And getting more so with each issue.
Well, I think a lot of it is because comic books have kind of gone mainstream. Well, I mean, at least the characters have. I wouldn't say that comic books truly have gone mainstream. You can see with Star Wars. Star Wars is more mainstream, but
also I think a lot of that comes from social justice's tendency to pick out a underserved demographic or underserved minority and co-opt it to make it mainstream. Just in general, because they generally still think that they are the counterculture, and so any inroads that they make into a thing make that more countercultural, not less. But they don't realize that they, by virtue of being so affected at power politics, have essentially made themselves the new authoritarian class, the new man.
All right, I'm gonna call it quits here because we have a lot of topics to cover. So I don't want to spend the entire stream talking about this. But Elijah, no, we haven't roasted it yet. We were talking about the Vertigo announcement, and now I want to talk about As Guardians of the Galaxy, Feisty's new favorite book.
Fuck you.
As Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, tell us about this, Feisty.
So I saw this announcement last night of a picture of like Angela, Throg, God, who else? Scourge, Valkyrie, and I think some dude with goggles. I have no idea who that is. And then a Destroyer. And they're the Asgardians of the Galaxy. So I'm assuming that maybe there isn't going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy book, or someone just what I think happened is someone made a joke tweet about like the Asgardians of the Galaxy with some kind of like in passing, and Marvel was like, yes, let's do this. Well, and that's what I think that's bad. Yeah.
It's been a meme ever since Thor Ragnarok, I think. Everyone kind of made that joke.
Well, Dalton, it sounds bad, right? But let's face it, you go back in Marvel's history, and they've come up with things that sounded bad but worked well.
No, it might work, and I actually think it does have a substantive chance of working, just based on the characters that they have there and the sort of out there-ness of the concept. It reminds me very much of the Silver Age thing. So it might work. I have my doubts, but we'll see.
James here is asking a good question.
Yes.
Yeah, that is a good question.
Go ahead and read it.
Does anyone else wonder if this spat of space stories up at Marvel is being forced by Disney to set up some lame Star Wars crossover?
Yeah.
I don't think so, James.
God, I hope not.
Yeah.
I pray to every god in every pantheon of every religion that is not the case. But
I'll pick up number one because I like Angela. So
let's see. Okay, we have Black Panther in space. Now we have Doctor Strange in space. And now we're getting Guardians Or Asgardians in space.
They're like, oh, the movies in space are doing well, so let's we know for the past 10 years that the movies don't translate to the comics. Like the movies are pulling ideas from the better of the comics, and now it's like, well, what are you guys doing? Like
from the actual meritocratic portions, and even if they take something from the lesser era, the more recent era, they tweak it and make it fit in line with the more classic comics, because Kevin Feige, God bless him, is an actual nerd who understands what makes Marvel work.
Oh yeah,
they are a fan of Marvel in his own right.
They are pulling more from the 1610 universe than from the 1616 universe, the mainstream one, aren't they?
Yeah, I think a lot of the Ultimate stuff is being used, and it seems to translate better to the film.
And in my opinion, it works. It works better in the way the MCU uses it than it ever did in the Ultimate universe. And I think again, Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel understand that the Ultimate universe had a lot of good ideas, but it didn't really work 100%. So they blend the main 616 continuity and the Ultimates continuity, and it really works for them.
Oh, there's they're trying to figure out how to make another Fantastic Four reboot. And I think personally, one of the things, to fit it into the cinematic universe, is they don't want to go with what they've done in every film so far and portray Reed Richards as this basically weak-willed, stereotypical, nerdish scientist. Because the way he was originally written up until, I'd say, the 90s, he was more like Indiana Jones than the Nutty Professor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the character they need to go, because even in a fictional team, you need an effective leader.
And especially given that he's supposed to be the surrogate dad of the team, because of course, the Fantastic Four are the first family of Marvel Comics.
Mm-hmm.
Is that actually the case? Is like half these characters villains? Like, hang on, let me try and find the thing you sent, Feisty. But I know the Destroyer is not exactly looked at as being a good guy.
Yeah, I know. Scourge.
Hold on, isn't the Destroyer just a tool?
Yeah,
it might be just a tool. I don't know. I like Angela.
Is that actually that's Throg? Yeah, okay, that is Throg.
If we're on about the big suit of Asgardian armor that goes around killing things.
Jeez. Okay, next topic.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Maybe, I mean, it is Cullen Bunn. I like his writing. I liked a lot of his Aftershock stuff. So, I mean, if anything, at least it's written by someone who's going to hopefully write it well. So, I don't know. I'm not going to pass judgment too soon. I'll read number 1. If that grabs me, then I'll be behind it. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Has anybody read the issue 1 of the Immortal Hulk yet?
We're gonna get to that.
That is actually next on my list. Or actually, I have one more before we get to that. Which is everyone has been talking about the harassment of Rose Tico, being in her kind of deleting all her Instagram stuff. So that's been going on. That's a thing.
I have a big thing. A lot of people can't separate like the work from the actor, and they pretty much see the actor as the embodiment of this character. People fail to forget that it's not the actress's fault that she was given a bad script.
Exactly. And that was one thing I wanted to cover. It's
asinine, and it's terrible that these people are harassing her for something that she was cast. She did her job. She read this, she acted out the script as best as she could, but she was given a shit script. So I don't know why people are harping on this poor person rather than the screenwriter or the director. Like, that's who you need to blame in this case, not the actress.
Well, and that's exactly it. That's the thing I kind of find frustrating about a lot of this stuff. I'm curious to see how much she got. I'm pretty sure she did get some. It's not her fault. I mean, you can hear there's like interviews with Natalie Portman where she's talking about working with George Lucas, and they're like, well, you know, it's like, why were you so wooden? It's like, because that was the direction I was given,
or lack of direction, because I've heard quite a few
or
things.
lack thereof. Yeah. So
like, I think
I
one
don't
of the
get the whole
biggest running
of...
jokes with Lucas is do it again but better.
The majority of the problems with the Star Wars prequels, and I will defend this till the day I die, is no one was around to cage George Lucas and tell him no from time to time. Because if you actually remember the original trilogies, the majority of the work actually wasn't George Lucas. A lot of it was people that he co-wrote with or co-directed with.
Oh crap!
What Lucas?
I'm trying to remember the dude's name.
What Lucas excels at is directing action sequences and special effects.
Mm-hmm. And the reason why the original trilogy was so good was when George would go on one of his spaz fests, and I call them that rather derisively, but they are more or less spaz fests. Someone would go, George, tone it down like 3 notches and do the scene again. And he would do the scene again, and it would be good.
He has recently come out and admitted he went too far with the prequels.
Yeah, he did. Let's see here. Crap, I can't remember the dude's name. This is gonna drive me fucking crazy.
Kirshner? Is that?
No, it wasn't Kirshner. No, he was the one who directed the second movie, but it.
Lawrence Kasdan?
No, it wasn't Kasdan. Kasdan was one of the writers. Shit, dude, it's gonna drive me crazy. Eventually, I'll remember it, but. He was one of the guys that basically kind of kept Lucas in check, and they parted ways. Kirshner. What's that?
Irvin Kershner.
No.
Well, that was the director of The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. It was somebody else, but ultimately they parted ways before they filmed Return of the Jedi, and it's kind of the reason why Return of the Jedi was like the least good. It's not as good as the others.
Yeah, no, it is probably the worst of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Do you know the worst thing about Return of the Jedi was? Ewoks.
Was it Lee Beckett?
Dalton?
No.
Dalton, people asking you to move closer to Mike or turn your volume up.
Huh?
People are saying you're a bit quiet.
Oh. I apologize. I will move the phone closer to me so that it can pick me. I can't really do anything about the mic, guys. It's from my phone, unless there's a connection issue, in which case I will disconnect and reconnect and see if that happens.
No, I think you're just further away from the microphone.
Yeah,
I can't remember, folks. I'm too fucking tired, I guess. But Gary Kurtz. It was Gary Kurtz.
Yeah.
Thanks. How's your father?
But like I was saying, I think that New Hope or Star Wars, depending on what you want to call it, and Return of the Jedi were actually on relative par with each other. It's just that Empire is such a step up from both of them that like it looks like a massive downgrade, even though it's more just a return to the same kind of stuff.
But we digress.
Yes.
The Empire was a very good second film because it felt like the middle story.
Empire's amazing.
Okay.
It felt like the middle story, if you know what I mean.
Now we're gonna be moving on to Immortal Hulk, guys.
Oh, nice.
And then we will go for the I won't say grand finale, but
I liked
Doctor Strange. Yeah, I did too. It was good. So Feisty, why don't you go ahead and kick us off? What were your thoughts?
So there's been a buzz in the shop about this since I saw solicits, and I saw a couple interviews and what Al Ewing was talking about it going back to classic horror Hulk, like what it was supposed to be written about in the first place. I have never been a Hulk fan at all, but the take on it and the way it was pitched and what the art and the inks that I saw from solicits and previews made me like get behind this and actually excited about it. I read it pretty early because I get my books on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I can't believe how amazing it was. Like Tuesday we had, I think, 37 copies on the wall. We sold out of it on it. So, you know, like I ordered 50 because I don't know, I couldn't gauge because I couldn't gauge the interest or whatever, but we sold out. So, I mean, like that is a book I believe in. And it's a book that it felt like classic Marvel. You like from the art, the coloring, to the storytelling, to the, I mean, the dialogue wasn't stupid. It was like a well-written, colored book.
It was a book that understood all the characters, even the bit players.
Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of? I think it was in the 90s when Banner was turning into the Grey Hulk at night and bounding around the countryside. It was exactly like that.
And I like that. I mean, I know a lot of when he is Hulk, he's kind of like dumb, but it did feel like the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, because he.
Yeah, that I would definitely agree with you, because I've always said I like kind of the smarter Hulk, and I know that we were kind of going back and forth. One of the things I mentioned to you is like, dude, it's like the Hulk is a fucking thug.
Yeah.
It's like, damn. It's like that's some fucked up shit. I did think there was areas where it lagged. I do like the idea. I thought was interesting. The last third of the book was really where it sold me, where you have the reporter and the cop, and they're kind of going back and forth, and they're talking about what happened. There's like, no, it's like Banner's dead. It's like, yeah, Banner's dead, but the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, that's an interesting concept. The whole idea that, yeah, you can shoot him, you can have him go to autopsy, you can bury him, but there's that part, the Hulk part, that brings him back. So you can kill Bruce, but you may not necessarily be able to kill the Hulk. So I thought that was kind of an interesting concept.
And I'm really excited what they do with the psyche of Banner with that. Like, I'm interested to see how he deals with that. Like I'm sure he'll probably get killed a few times, but like coming to terms with it, like much like, I'm just going to use Wolverine, for example, little consequences to actions, because if he starts, what I was shot, I was, and then it's like, well, how is this going to develop his Bruce Banner as a kid? He's genuinely pretty straight walking, good guy from what I understand. But I mean, just to see where this is going to go, I'm excited. Like, it's going to mess with his brain and his whole character. And I'm very excited. And oh my God, the cover art with Alex Ross. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm going about is the movie with that stupid idea. I forget who it was. I mean, it was one at the SJW Marvel where the Hulk, Doom split the Hulk and Banner, and because Banner didn't have the Hulk in his brain anymore, he started to go insane.
Yeah,
that was just idiotic. I mean,
no,
God, because before the Gamma Bomb incident, Banner didn't have the Hulk inside of him, right? Persona or otherwise. That was a development of the Gamma Bomb. So by that story's logic, Banner should have been insane well before the bomb went off, and he clearly wasn't.
Yeah, it's not as though he was always insane and the Hulk was like a stabilizing influence. It's just that there are two different entities that are sort of forced to share the same physical form.
Yeah.
James Hayes says, I'm disappointed in Marvel for not putting an age warning. It's actually rated T+, so they did rate it accordingly.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I don't pay attention to ratings.
I mean, going back to a horror-esque type of stories, basically what the Hulk was originally intended for as well.
Yeah. And I mean, there were panels and splash pages that actually gave me chills, like seeing the look and like that. I forget what it was, like three or four straight panels across, and it was like this kid shooting a gun, the bullets hitting the Hulk, and then that like evil grimace smile. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I'm going to mess you up.
Yep.
Look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your bullets don't work, and so what now, bitch? Look.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's some other stuff too that kind of stuck out to me as someone who knows a little bit about guns, which I thought was kind of funny. It's like it just goes back to doing your fucking research, because revolvers don't have safeties.
Yeah.
And that was one thing we was talking about. It's like the safety was off. The safety was off. It's like, that's not how revolvers work.
I put that down to that guy not knowing about guns himself.
I know, but he could have done the research. But that's just
not the writer. The guy in the story who said that. That's who I think didn't know about guns, so he said that.
Maybe.
Yeah, because what the kid that owed these this gang money, like I think that he made a mistake, he got mixed up with the wrong crowd. I think that's like the first time he ever shot.
I know, but the other thing too is like with a revolver, the only way you fire is by pulling the trigger. So it's not like it accidentally went off. It's like it was intentional, and that was kind of my issue with the story. Was you could say that he panicked and pulled the trigger, which would have made sense, but at the same time, he ends up shooting 3 people, which means it's fucking premeditated. Because if it was truly an accident, because he freaked out, he would have fucking ran out at that point.
Yeah, I think the first the kid and Banner were because he freaked. Yeah. The kid was an accident. Banner was he freaked out, and the cashier was because, well, he panicked and ran, and he didn't want to leave a witness, which he didn't need to do. Guy never saw his face. And I'm sorry for sounding funny, but I was chewing a cigarette.
It's okay. But yeah, so anyway, that's kind of my little rant there. It's like that I thought was a flaw to me, but like I said, it's not that I know better, but it's something I'm aware of.
Yeah.
It's a small little plot contrivance. I say let them have this one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still gonna read.
Sorry, Feisty. I either cut out or you cut out. I missed what you said.
I think she cut out.
Okay. Do we lose the Feisty?
I hope not. I'm just hoping the Feisty looks like her avatar.
Can you guys hear me? Am I back?
Yes,
there you are.
Yeah,
you're
fine.
back. Okay.
My internet has been shoddy all day. I guess my husband was like, "Yeah, it was out earlier," so I'm like, "Oh, you couldn't have told me that before."
I see.
But no, I said I will read issue 2 regardless, and I thought it was. I mean, I think we can all agree that it was a pretty good book.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And Bad Bunny, it depends on the type of revolver, whether it is a single action or dual action. If it's a dual action, you can just pull the trigger and fire. It's just a stronger pull. Anyway, moving right along now. So are we covered Immortal Hulk, I think, sufficiently.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the roast of Doctor Strange #1.
Oh my.
Oh my god, this book.
It's the roast.
So where do we begin? I need to pull up chat to get some sympathy, because as you all know, I am a massive Doctor Strange fan, and this is gonna hurt me.
Okay,
again.
So I'll start because, well, I don't know. Who has a copy of the book out? I brought my copy back to the shop. I'm like, I am not keeping this. Nope.
Okay, so here's an interesting question before we jump on here. Maverick MX asks, do you think that the kid really deserved getting all of his bones broken by the Hulk?
Yep.
Well, technically he murdered 3 people. So I'm going with that was pretty soft.
Yeah.
So, and I say technically because he did kill Bruce Banner.
It was kind of harsher actually, because when you think about it, yeah, he's gonna if he recovers, he's gonna be in a coma for the rest of his life. So
yeah,
he's gonna be a cripple for the rest of his life.
Looking at the comments, no, Elijah, I'm feeling better, but the last couple of days I've been dealing with sleep debt from being sick. So once my brain is properly sorted out, I will get on making videos, which I'm assuming is why you're asking.
Okay, sorry. Back to Doctor Strange, since I wanted to address at one point. I love James Hayes' comment. It says, apparently Mark Waid's interview with EVS claimed that his best stories came from doing worse things as possible to a character, a la Doctor Strange #1.
Okay. So, like, having read or having watched the Razor Fist retrospective on the Waid run of Daredevil, part of me wants to think that that is the case, and that makes me sad because.
Well, okay, all right. To a degree, I think he has a point, right? I mean, it's all about overcoming conflict and adversity and stuff like that. So when you do bad things or when bad things happen, the character has to react. I mean, that's like the plot of any story, right? Man climbs up a tree, people throw rocks at him, he climbs down, forever changed. That's basically how stories are supposed to function. So I can get what he's saying to a degree. The problem with this book is it's fucking boring.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are other issues with it that I would like to get into from, you know, the perspective of a Doctor Strange fan. Thing the first. This book is wordy as hell.
Yeah.
Oh dear God, yes it is. That's one of the reasons why I couldn't finish it.
I'm looking at it right now.
But let me spurg for a second here.
Go for it.
Go for it.
I can understand why they did the wordiness thing, because Doctor Strange's like lexicon has always been more wordy, and that's a large part of what the Jason Aaron run and the Donny Cates one were missing, because they just made him talk relatively quote unquote normally, and you really, really, really shouldn't do that with Doctor Strange. The problem is the wordier you try to make something, the more sensible and well put together a thing has to be for it to read properly.
Oh, God,
if you just ejaculate words onto the page for no adequately explained reason, you're going to essentially make a bunch of postmodern, and yes, I'm using that word, fucking free verse poetry, and it's not going to make any fucking sense. And that's exactly what happened in this book.
That's the one.
If we're on about the same one, sorry to jump in. I've just gotten to the part where he stitched the rip in reality. It's like a CGI picture.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is they use like
it looks horrible.
No, it's worse than that. That is not CGI. That is actually real photos that were probably processed by After Effects to give it that comic book look.
Within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It just seemed lazy and boring. And one of the things that that particularly bothered me about this issue was because a lot of it read with those square text that pretty much tell you what's going on. Basically, they didn't show any real reaction. They didn't use a lot of he didn't use a lot of dialogue with the character or the thought bubbles or anything. He just told you the story. It read like a novel. Like, I'm like, if I wanted to read a novel, I would read a novel. I don't want that in my comic book.
No. See, like I was saying, I don't mind if comics are very wordy. Like, Neil Gaiman usually writes a lot of dialogue and a lot of like expositional background stuff in his comics, and it works because he actually knows what the fuck he is doing. The problem is, the more words that you ejaculate onto the page, the more careful you have to be with your syntax and your actual knowledge of linguistics. If you don't have the skill to talk like an intellectual, you shouldn't be writing as an intellectual.
Right. The other issue I have, besides the fact this book is so emo, it would start cutting itself if it was any more emo, is the fact that they've already done this thing where Doctor Strange was losing magic.
Yeah.
Thousands of times in the last 20 years.
Yeah. But more recently than that with Jason Aaron's run. So it's like
magic.
Yes, Last Days of Magic is exactly what I'm thinking of.
With Jason Aaron, Jason Aaron, I'm surprised he didn't get in touch with his feminine side, if you know what I mean.
And okay, that's a whole other barrel of kettles of chaos. But while we're on the subject of repeated issues that keep coming up in the storytelling, I'm going to have to revoke the entire premise for a second as a Doctor Strange fan, because, and I've said this several times, but I'm going to continue to say it until someone actually takes note of it and listens at Marvel, which will be probably long after I'm dead. But Doctor Strange is not the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth. He is the Sorcerer Supreme of the entire physical dimension.
That's what I thought.
Ergo.
Well, actually, it's bigger than that. He's the Sorcerer Supreme of the his home universe, which includes all attendant dimensions?
There's actually some debate about that because he has acknowledged extra dimensional beings as the Sorcerer Supremes of their respective dimensions. So I'm willing to meet in the middle and just say that he's the Sorcerer Supreme of the entire physical dimension. And that he is the gatekeeper of other dimensions for the sake of, you know, doing his job.
Well, you're the big strange fan here, so.
But point being, if he is out of magic, that means that his entire dimension and several of the adjoining ones that he draws power from would have to be out of magic. Therefore, the entire premise of this story of Doctor Strange is out of magic on Earth, so he flies into space to get more, does not make any fucking sense. What so goddamn ever. I
thought he was just doing his best Tony Stark impersonation, becoming Droney Stark.
I can't.
I mean, the opening one.
That's the other thing. His characterization has been utter gobshite since, like, well, it's been being slowly chipped away at ever since the Illuminati era, but it's been absolute utter gobshite since the Jason Aaron run. And they keep doing this thing where they put Tony Stark and John Constantine in a blender and then put the resulting liquid in a Doctor Strange mold and call it good. And that's nothing like Doctor Strange is supposed to be. Doctor Strange is the king of having his shit together, because if he doesn't have his shit together, all of reality gets turned into a Boschian hellscape.
Yeah. Feisty, do you have any more words on this? I know you've been rather quiet, and you were my primary guest for the evening.
Well, there wasn't, like, I don't know, the fact that, you know, Doctor Strange or, you know, Steven went to Tony of all people. It's like, okay, like, I guess, I don't know. I just had issues with there's no sense of urgency. It was just, it was emo, and he acted, I don't know. I don't know Doctor Strange as well as Dalton does, but it seemed out of character to me.
Okay, it was, but I'm going to at least give them some benefit of the doubt in that I get what they were trying to do, because Doctor Strange has always had a dislike of Tony Stark, despite having a professional courtesy for him, because Tony does not take himself seriously, and he always tries to be the jokester. Hence the origin of the facial hair bros I hate you meme.
I've got one for you, Dalton. If you look at the characterization of Strange early in the book, he's an arrogant little bastard, and that's one.
Well, that's the whole thing. Is they're both kind of arrogant bastards, though. It's like they're kind of looking in a mirror.
Okay, here's
about arrogance with the ancient one.
Exactly. Here's the thing about that. One of Doctor Strange's defining characteristics post-sorcery is he has a pathological fear of relapsing into arrogance mode. Mm-hmm. He has a pathological fear of that, to the point where in probably the last great Doctor Strange story, which was Strange Tales Volume 2, which was a book he shared with Cloak and Dagger, but I digress. You can get the trades online for anyone that's curious about it.
Stop digressing.
One of the well, I had to recommend it to people because people need to read more good Doctor Strange. But
I'm just giving you shit, dude.
Yeah, I know. The main like emotional impetus behind that was he had modified himself to such a point that he wouldn't let himself love Clea, and it was crippling his emotional range, because he was so worried about defaulting back to arrogant bastard mode that he essentially made himself a self-sacrificial messiah figure to compensate. That's always been a problem with Doctor Strange. He's one of his biggest character flaws has always been, ever since the you know, stuff behind his origin, he overcompensates to such a degree that he actually has a self-sacrificial streak, where he would rather destroy himself 100,000 times over than see even a small portion of the universe get destroyed. And to see him
relapse into arrogance mode just because that's all anyone could be bothered to look up on Wikipedia to write him, that is an insult that I cannot abide. The running joke has always been, despite the fact that he and Tony Stark have very similar origins and very similar aesthetics, they are very different people. Doctor Strange is more introverted in his intelligence and far much more sage-like and worldly. Like I've always said, he's the Yoda or the Gandalf of the Marvel Universe. And to see them just flout that because all they knew about Doctor Strange was he used to be arrogant with no conception of how his character actually works pisses me off on a level that I can't even word properly.
Right. And what ultimately frustrates me about this book is the fact that, you know, for years before they brought Doctor Strange back, I was wanting to see a Doctor Strange book because, you know, magic is something I think is pretty cool. It's interesting. Why would I want to read a book about Doctor Strange that doesn't have fucking magic in it?
Okay, that's one thing, but
and the explanation from Tony Stark is bollocks. Yeah, like Dalton said, he's the Sorcerer Supreme of the universe. That means he's drawing on the magic of the universe, not just of Earth.
Right.
Yeah, and also, I mentioned this before this book even came out because I read the like series concept summary. It really, really pisses me off that of all the people that Strange could go to if he ever needed a spaceship, which he shouldn't because he should at least have enough magic left to do a simple teleportation spell. But if he had to go to a science type 4 space shit, he could go to Reed Richards, who actually has some semblance of knowledge with extra-dimensional probes.
Reed Richards isn't available right now.
Yeah, I know. He could go to Dr. Doom, who has a very good rapport with on the basis that they're magic bros, and Stephen helped Doom regain his mother's soul from Mephisto, Triumph and Torment, which is another really great book for anyone that wants to read good Doctor Strange.
There's another thing it says in the book that he's visited other sorcerers to find out the problem. Apparently, they're not having this problem. Only Doctor Strange is.
That really sticks in my craw more than anything.
Yeah.
And they did this in Last Days of Magic 2.
Sorry. Sorry, I that's the first time I've ever heard that.
You've never heard that term before?
No.
I'm almost certain I've said it around you before, so I don't know. But digression
Sorry.
aside. And I'm sorry I'm ranting, but
Doctor Strange is your dude, and I totally get it. That's like if I'm trying to think, I'm like, I would probably we could probably get to something else I found out after this.
Oh yes. Oh
yes.
That's right. I forgot. Yes. I completely forgot about that. Yes.
Okay. But in Last Days of Magic, you would think it would be a universe-wide event because magic is a universal force. Hardly anyone, however, shows up when it comes to magic dying. It doesn't affect, for example, Iron Fist, who draws from chi, which is life energy, which is a form of magic. It doesn't affect Damian Hellstrom.
I mean, I could maybe argue that's different, though. But, I mean, all the actual magic user proper in Last Days of Magic were being affected. Scarlet Witch was being affected. Was it Dr. Voodoo? Yeah. There was a lot of people who were being affected by that.
And the other thing is there's still vampires knocking about and werewolves. If magic had been drained of the earth, the werewolves would just be people and vampires would be piles of dust.
And living mummy wasn't affected.
Yep.
And just all of obviously Ghost Rider, because cosmic Ghost Rider is still a thing, and all of the previous iterations of Ghost Rider are still a thing.
But is that magic though? I thought that was like being demon possession.
Demons are magical creatures.
Demons are magic, dude.
I don't know. I could argue that point with you, but
yeah, their strength and their powers are all magic based. So
yeah, they're essentially energy beings. But point being, especially given the 1-2 punch of the Last Days of Magic storyline with Doctor Strange and the God Killer storyline from Thor,
you would think this would be a universal, if not multiversial event. And on that topic, why the fuck didn't we see how the Vishanti were affected by the last days of magic, or any of the other mystic entities that Doctor Strange typically draws?
And there was another thing that got me when he's talking to Tony Stark, and Tony Stark saying, "Oh, it's not really magic. It's like using a such and such scientific mumbo jumbo."
Yeah,
Tony Stark has long since accepted that magic is different to science.
Yeah, they just threw that in because McClark's law. And that's a whole nother Pandora's box of.
I think they threw it in because we don't understand the characters.
No, they don't, and hopefully, with the Doctor Strange in the MCU slowly but surely becoming more like his proper self from the comics, they'll pick up some shit from the movies, and I hate to be hoping that the movies will save the comics, but at this point, that's the only way I'm ever gonna get proper Doctor Strange back in the current Marvel paradigm is if he becomes more like himself proper in the MCU when they learn from the movies.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too, I think at this point, and this is sad, is Mark Waid needs to fucking retire.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, it's just the fact that, I mean, when's the last time the guy wrote a good book? Anybody?
54, I can't remember.
I'm going to have to invoke crickets on this one. I do not know.
Yeah, I will go with Kingdom Come if he wrote that.
Pretty sure he wrote Kingdom Come.
No, he did.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
But even so it was quiet around the time one of my customers came into the store, and we were talking about it, and he was asking me about it. He's like, "Oh, what did you read?" And I said, and he's like, "Oh, did you read Doctor Strange?" I was like, unfortunately, yeah. He's like, "Oh, how was it?" I was like, "It was boring." And I looked around to make sure there was no little ears around, because I don't like the language in front of younger audiences. But I was like, it was boring as fuck. Like, I mean, even people were, I'm like, I'm not going to lie. Like, it was boring. Like, I thought it was really boring. And if you like the character, you want to read it, I'm sure issue 2 will probably explain a lot more of what's going on, but I won't be reading it. And it was funny. He's like, oh, well, Mark Waid wrote it, so it's got to be shit. But it was funny because this customer is like, he's like, oh, well, yeah, Mark Waid wrote it. He's like, he needs to go. And it was just funny to have a customer feel the exact same way as everyone does without having any context of what, the shitstorm on Twitter and but it was just funny.
Points to customer for truth speaking.
Yeah. I have this fantasy about Jason Isaacs. You see, what happens is Jason Isaacs coming home, and he gets home and all the lights are off. Can't turn the lights on. And he gets into his main sitting room and like his study. And there's somebody sitting in his lounge chair, a big swivel chair with his back to him. But this guy's huge, longish hair. You can see in silhouette. And he stands up, and there's lightning. And there is Thor, Odin's son, with a copy of the Jane Foster Thor in his hand, and Mjolnir in his other hand. And then everything goes black. And that is my fantasy. I would love to see that actually happen, even though it never will. But it would be fun, wouldn't it? Just to hear Jason Isaacs killed, home destroyed by weird thunderstorm.
Nice. So, Feisty, you have something you need to go and spurg off about.
I think I spent 5 minutes in Discord chat just yelling, no. And I think I tweeted about it too. Like, bad Marvel. Like, I want to take Marvel, like, you put it into like a dog and like take a newspaper and just go, no. So Marvel is launching. Actually, let me share this article. La la la, sharing my screen. La la la.
Okay, before we do that, I have to address something that someone said in the comics or comments. No, Elijah, Doctor Strange is not the reason I practice magic. Although my practice of magic is a large part of the reason why I like Doctor Strange. You got the causality flipped, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. Have you got good enough to pull a Vishanti out with a hat yet?
If I find on some plane of existence that the Vishanti actually do exist, I am leaving this universe and just flipping over to the Marvel one. It has been long overdue.
Right, the Return of Wolverine.
All right, Feisty, take it away.
Okay, so I was really excited to see, the Return of Wolverine, much like, the Death of Wolverine, the Hunt for Wolverine, whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. He's getting we're building up to him returning to his own series. And then I saw a miniseries, so like, oh, okay. And then I was like reading, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, Steve McNiven is drawing it. I'm so happy. And I kept reading, and then I got to this. I will read it.
Please do.
I thought this was a real opportunity to do things that would make him feel new and fresh in a way. If you come back from the dead, it should mean something. Soleil, I don't know how to say his last name.
I think it's pronounced Soul.
Okay, told Marvel.com. One of the outwardly physical manifestations is that now, from time to time, his claws, once they're popped, can heat up. They can get really hot.
No.
No.
Why?
No. Bad Marvel.
Why?
Bad Soul.
This is where I would turn Marvel.
No.
Feisty.
No.
We hope you enjoyed the Dalton rant about Doctor Strange portion of the program. Now that we present the Feisty rant
I'm
about
sorry.
Wolverine.
Okay, I don't know about anybody else, but I don't think Logan needs any freshness. He doesn't need to be new and fresh. We love him because of how he is. Go fuck yourself, Marvel. Go fuck yourself. I'm done.
He's fresh out of the grave. What more do you need than that?
I know, right? It's like, why? Other than, okay,
No,
I can.
Only change I would give to Wolverine fresh out the grave. He would have no scars.
Right?
That's it.
Yeah, that's about it. But okay, so here's my thinking though. I how he died was kind of shit. But I'm thinking in some way maybe the adamantium shell casing he was in might have reacted with whatever, and that might be how they explain it. But other than that, no. Bad Marvel. Bad.
We can give him the new nickname of Hot Claws. That way X-23 can keep Wolverine.
Oh God! Like seriously, like why? Why?
You know, I can say I could have done it with the adamantium shell. They could have said, "Wait, it was kind of like a cocoon."
I fucking don't get it. Like why?
Feisty, you need an internet hug. I think you might need an internet hug.
You guys have no idea. Like this, I'm like, no. Why?
Yeah.
Yes.
See, this is actually one of the good side benefits of the fact that Doctor Strange has been being fucked with ever since the Illuminati era. I'm long since the I have no fucks left to give phase, and more just into the why is my character just constantly being fucked with phase. This appears to be a new thing for you, Feisty, and so you're still in the I refuse to acknowledge that this even exists phase.
It's of grief.
Yeah, she's in the
denial phase.
She's the denial phase. There will be anger.
I've moved into the depression phase.
Feisty, you're in a there was
I'm in denial. I'm in denial. Like no. Oh my God. Why? Why?
Don't know. Yeah, the Immortal is. Am I the only one who wants the Immortal Hulk to meet the Amadeus Cho Hulk and get into a real fight with him? He can brass all at breakfast time.
Okay.
Why?
Why?
Like it was funny because my old boss texts. He's like, Wolverine has heat claws now. Ew. And I knew he was just trying to trigger me, and it worked.
Oh, God. You know what they're gonna do? That's not the real Wolverine. That's cyborg Wolverine. And then you're gonna have eradicate
Wolverine.
No, then you're gonna have eradicate Wolverine.
The real Wolverine is in a cell next to Hydra Cap.
Chat, deliver internet hugs for Feisty. I think she desperately
Yeah,
needs
the real Wolverine is recovering in his fortress of solitude and wearing a black uniform.
Oh no! Oh, now is not the time for Marvel to completely ape DC.
I mean, come on, they've already got they've already got the
I am so triggered right now.
Unleash the hate, Feisty. I mean, you could probably go for another 20 minutes of why?
I know. I'm so in denial and I hate it. And why? Like, seriously, if I ever, like, oh my God. Like, why did I want to know why he thinks it's a good idea? Like, that's where did this come from? You wanted to
probably came from editorial. This probably did not come from Soleil or Soul. Sorry. Now you got me doing it. This probably came from editorial. I mean, I think the writers.
Oh, we need to reinvent this character that everyone loves and, you know, like miss because we killed him for 3.5, almost 4 years. But we need to reinvent him. This is a fresh start. Wolverine doesn't need no goddamn fresh start.
What needs a fresh start is the heart of your meritocracy, Marvel. But you don't believe in meritocracy because of all this social justice postmodern gobbledygook.
Feisty, I'll just put in the side chat there some lines for you to read out in the style of Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back.
No!
It could have been worse. You know, he... Wow, that was impressively long. He could have came back gay for Iceman.
I hate you. I should just leave the stream and go cry.
You have an impressive set of lungs.
I used to be a singer, so I can hold.
Yes,
hold
that was very impressive.
Thank you.
Yep. You've never smoked before in your life.
Yeah, I have actually. I just quit like 2 years ago. Yep.
She's gonna need a smoke after this stream too.
Seriously, I know. I'm like,
honestly, yeah. I think we all just need to buy Yushenko's, get some honey jack, and go full Dr. Random McCann.
I'm just like.
Well, James Hayes, you got a point there. How do I know that he's not gay for Iceman? I haven't read the book yet. That is very true. That could happen.
Well, you know that Deadpool meme that's going around.
They're like, oh, this person who loves Wolverine on the internet, let's fuck with her. That's how I feel. I'm like, I take this personally.
Hey, you know that Deadpool meme that's going around where Thanos is sitting down on his throne and Wolverine's slipping the whoopee cushion in. Marvel needs to make that canon.
Does
Deadpool would do that?
Does Patrick Zurcher control the Blockbot list or something? I have no idea. I'm not blocked by him. You know, I'm not an asshole to him, so I shouldn't be blocked. So
he liked one of my. He tweeted something last night, and he's like, "Oh, something about anger," and I was like, "Think on what Small Green Jedi Master said about anger," and he liked it. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I know that. Zdarsky's liked a couple of my tweets whenever I talk about his stuff.
Dan Slott blocked me.
Well, Dan Slott blocks everyone.
You're calling the big blocks.
Yeah, who isn't blocked by Dan Slott at this point?
Dan Slott is the Steve Shives of Marvel Comics.
That would be an interesting Venn diagram.
But then again,
people who are not blocked by either Steve Shives or Dan Slott.
I don't feel entitled to, like, I don't feel like if someone has me blocked, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, whatever. I don't feel entitled.
I don't care.
I don't care either.
I don't care.
It amuses me.
I do think it's kind of funny and unnecessary, but at the end of the day, I give zero fucks. I really do.
Oh, I read Deadpool #1.
I'm surprised he didn't actually give Wolverine elbow blades as well.
Hang on, let Feisty finish. What was your thoughts? What was your thoughts on it?
It was fun. I don't read Deadpool at all. I've never picked up but because Scotty Young was writing it, I picked it up, and like it made me laugh out loud quite a few times. Like I thought his writing was funny. Like, and a lot of people were, oh, that's just how Deadpool. You know, I'm like, oh well, this is this is interesting. So I was able to say, yeah, it was funny.
Oh, that's a good thing. That means the writer's doing his work, which is all you really want from a writer, isn't
James
it?
Hayes, you're triggering me, man. Don't even.
Just
Don't
be glad,
even.
Just be glad they didn't give Deadpool a mullet.
Computer robots also. What do you guys think of the new Guardian of the Galaxy roster? We talked about that earlier on the stream. It's the Asgardians of the Galaxy. It could be, well, and like I said, Cullen Bunn is writing it, and I do like a lot of his. I read a lot of his stuff. A lot of his stuff with Aftershock. I read. Like I'm reading Dark. No, is he writing Dark? Yeah, I think he's writing
Just
Dark Arc.
be glad it's not Mark Waid, because you know his political way. Turn half of them again, it'd probably be the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
On the subject of the Asgardians of the Galaxy, can I say something that I should have said earlier but didn't because we had more important things to cringe over?
Go for it.
Why the fuck don't they just call them the Aesir? Like, that has always bothered me. They're the Aesir. That you don't need to make a new word. They're the Aesir. Jesus
They've
Christ.
been known as Asgardians in Marvel Comics since Thor first appeared in Marvel Comics.
But you got to use the play on words. That's why.
Yeah,
because of Guardians of the Galaxy in Asgard.
No, but it still bugs me. They're the Aesir, and then you can.
I know.
Then you can introduce the Vine. Yeah, thank you.
They did it because they know about you, Dalton, and they wanted to trigger you.
I wasn't even bored when they first did this, but it still is stupid. They're called
Comics.
They're gods, and they should be addressed in their proper form, and the proper form of the Norse pantheon, for the most part, is the Aesir.
Two things to say. Bryce, yes, keep reading DC. It's good. Marvel's kind of a waste these days. It seems like there's a few good books here and there, but also Kevin brings up the whole thing with GameStop selling comic books. I know that you have an opinion on this, Feisty.
Okay, here's little backstory about me too. I used to work for GameStop for 3.5 years. Not so much. I got out about the time they started bringing in all the bullshit, like the merchandise and because I think they acquired, was it ThinkGeek?
ThinkGeek.
Yeah. So then it's more of I don't think it'll work because a lot of other like Barnes and Noble and a lot of other shops like tried it and it didn't work. Like I don't see it lasting, and they're only rolling it out with 20 stores. So they're doing it as like, you know, seeing if it'll work. But yeah, I think it's dumb. But then that means that they probably have an account with Diamond because that's the only way, that's the only distributor that exists. So now they're going to have access to the same Diamond Select toys that do really well. Like, you know, the $50 price point sculpts that most of the time are pretty decent. So it's like, now what's the, you know, but I'm sure they'll mark it up because it's GameStop.
Yeah, so there's two thoughts I have on this, and I know Weaponized Nerd Rage did a video about this, and it was actually really good.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, Webb's video on this was really good.
I know it's a trial; they're trying it in 20 stores. He brought up the point of the fact that the stores are really fucking small, which they are. So I'm not really sure how they're planning on having all these games and merchandise and comic books. I'm not sure how that's gonna work. That's pretty fucking ridiculous.
Generally, it doesn't work.
If I was going to recommend a chain that should be dabbling in selling comics, I would say like FYE, because they already do a lot of the geek shit, and they occasionally sell comic trades, so that would make more sense. With GameStop, it's supposed to just primarily be games, so why branch into comics for no reason? And believe me, I get the universal application of geekiness. I am a nigh universal geek when it comes to this shit. But also, still, as a business point of view and a like brand point of view, it makes no sense.
Go for it,
yeah, it's like, okay, I'm pulling up my FOC order because I can tell like how many titles because it says how many items roughly. Okay, so on my FOC for July 4th, which is, you know, final order cutoff for July 4th, there's 1,499 items. Of course, that's not like the whole thing because there's, you know, there's variants and toys and stuff in that. So it's probably roughly about maybe, let's just say 1,300 comic books or comic related merchandise alone. Web brought a very good point up that they don't have the room or capacity to keep every title in. So it's like, what is their focus? What are they, what is it that they're trying to accomplish here? So they're probably not going to do trades. They're probably going to do like maybe the top 10. So it's, yeah, they just don't have the capacity to order as much as, or wall space as much as a local comic shop does, or some other venue that could house these titles that come out every week.
Which again, like a large and multivariate store like FYE could easily
I'm sorry, I got that wrong. So my total items order are so the total line items, so this is the line items, is 133. So yeah, we can say like maybe 98 of them are actual like single issue comics. That's still 100 comics that you have to account for marketing space. So yeah, I don't see it lasting because they don't have the capacity. They barely have enough capacity to showcase new games, let alone all their pre-owned bullshit.
Yeah,
throwing
only thing where
mix there is going to be painful.
The only area where I could see it being a plus is the fact that we have all these comic shops closing down, and it would be nice for areas that didn't have a comic shop anymore to have access to comics. That would be the only plus side. Other than that, I think this is probably going to be a colossal fucking disaster.
One of the reasons why... Sorry, if I may, one of the reasons why comic books are closing down. It's not one of the major reasons, but it's definitely one of the reasons, and it's eBay. You're finding a lot more comic book shops on eBay and similar sites than you are in the real world.
A lot of shops do both. Like a lot of them have brick and mortar and eBay shops, but there's a couple shops, and I know if like Midtown has its own ordering system online. Like if anybody needs a comic book, they can, go to Midtown, go to eBay. Like there's other venues, but I know quite a few people that come to the shop and say, yeah, I can order this online, but I like supporting local business.
Yeah. I don't like Midtown Comics because as a friend of mine gets me to touch up old comic covers for him. And you try to use shots from Midtown Comics, and they've got Midtown Comics put in such a way that you cannot use Photoshop to get rid of it. But that's just like doing stuff for friends. Other than that, they've got a pretty respectable catalogue.
Yeah, but I don't see it working because of the fact that there's so many titles that come out, and I hardly even order all of them because, again, if there's no interest, I'm not gonna give shelf space to something.
Mm-hmm.
The best. Sorry, go ahead.
What was I completely forgot what I was gonna say, but since I have the floor for a second, addressing something in chat. King Billy, we already addressed the Zoe Quinn.
Comics Division just told him we talked about it.
Yep.
I was gonna just reminisce a bit there because I was going to say the best two comics I ever got off eBay. Two what ifs that followed each other was the what if Conan was walked the earth today. Where he ended up in the 20th century for a short time. Mm-hmm. And then there was the follow-up what if where he actually got trapped in the 20th century. If you can find them, they're brilliant.
Mm.
And I know this has been brought up before, and King Billy has mentioned this too, is that grocery stores and things like 7-Eleven should carry comics again and spinner racks. That would be great because you can get kids back into comics.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
I had a kid today come into the shop. It was their first time. I love it when new readers come into the shop and I get to sell them their first comic. I still see that I at least get that maybe good. 1 to 2 times a week. So kids are still coming into shops.
Hey, Feisty, you might like this. It's back from when I was. This is going to 1976. My English teacher caught me reading one of the Spider-Man reprints. Confiscated it. It was a Friday. And he says, "I'll give you it back on Monday." Yeah, there's your punishment. I'm taking it. Well, he gives it back. He asks as if I had any more. And well, why? And well, I actually had a look at it, and it would really make a good educational tool. How's that? And it's like it's the way they use a large vocabulary but they also showed the words how in the situations where anybody reading it can quickly grasp what the words mean. And they also introduced the reader concepts and ideas that even morality that they wouldn't normally come across.
Heaven forbid that there's good stories written in comic books.
Yeah, it's like obvious thing is obvious. Comics are art and literature, so yeah.
It totally changes opinion of them, because back then most people thought comic books were for little kids and they were rubbish. They fill your head with rubbish.
Well, that was the funny thing, though. It's like back in like the 30s and shit, you had like the horror comics and whatnot that were going on. Maybe that's too early, but you had fucking Tales of the Crypt and shit like that.
Yeah,
and all those horror comics and detective and westerns and shit like that. Sorry, go ahead.
But this is the thing. Taking off from what Comix just said, the whole comics are for kids thing is largely an artificial result of the meddling of people like Frederick Wertham and the Comics Authority, because originally comics were for everyone almost universally, but were predominantly enjoyed by working class and lower middle class families and adults.
They were deliberately shipped overseas during the war.
Yes, but because essentially right-wing SJWs of the 40s and 50s got a hold of this notion that a new artistic medium was having an effect on culture. A guy by the name of Frederick Wertham essentially conflated correlation with causation and just tried to make the argument that because a bunch of people in mental institutions were reading comics, that it was actually comics that caused mental disorders.
Yeah, like Frederick Wertham said, throughout our life, throughout our times.
Yeah, and essentially, they're the ones that resulted in the comics becoming so neutered that they were only marketable to children for a very long while. Fortunately, because comic writers can't be kept down, that resulted in the candy-colored neon beautifulness that is the silliness of the Silver Age. But it always enrages me when people try to make the comics are for kids argument, because that is an artificial thing that was created by people who hated comics in order to essentially strawman comics, and then those very same people who hated comics started to complain that comics were only for kids.
Yeah.
So in short, you broke something, and then you bitched about it being broken.
I'll stick to my Heavenly Kibble Guardian Corgi comics then, because that's
you should.
Yeah,
feisty with your hope, Corgi.
Another thing I think DC should put into actual canon is the idea that Raven is addicted to My Little Rainbow Bright and all of that crap. It would just be
please, for the love of God, no. Raven was my second ever waifu. So no, please, for the love of God.
They have a lot of children oriented like we have a rack and a bookshelf that's specifically rated for like 12 and younger, and they sell well. Like the DC superhero girls, we can't keep those on the shelves.
That's because I keep sneaking into your shop and sitting the burn.
Why? Like, why is that a bad thing?
Because I'm Batman.
I was honestly waiting to see how many times I could have you, how many times we could be on streams together before you would try to win an argument versus that.
But you have to say it because I'm Batman.
Tillium is asking Raven versus Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange under all circumstances except potentially the White Raven scenario.
Okay, Raven versus Doctor Strange.
Dude, don't bring race into this. Jesus.
Hold on. Raven versus Doctor Strange with the Ghostbusters.
That's so Raven. You're welcome. I totally grabbed that, Comix. Yes.
In the immortal words of that Raven, oh snap.
Yeah, like you said, Raven versus Doctor Strange, and the third day into the fight by surprise is the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, and then Doctor Strange. I actually created a Doctor Strange in comparison to the Ghostbusters meme. I'll have to post it somewhere so that it can be found later. Yeah, but that's So Raven was such a good show. I miss that show. Although they did bring it back recently with with Raven having children who also had psychic abilities.
And four eyes. And four eyes. Raven has four. No, it's six eyes she has, isn't it? In a true form.
When she's in Trigon mode, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
Yeah. You confuse me for a second. I'm like, oh, when she goes Trigon mode, yeah.
I still like the idea I have. Trigon isn't really a demon. He's just an overindulgent father. Raven is a spoiled brat. She saw superheroes on Earth and wanted to be a superhero, so he pretended to be a demon just to give us, just to give his daughter what she wants. He's never killed anybody. What he's done is he's transported them when he's pretended to kill them and put them in better lives somewhere else on the planet. And the Justice League and the Teen Titans and all them are in on it as well.
As adorable as that story would be, I think it would have to be an elf world.
Okay, so before I know that Feisty now we both didn't want to go late, and it's already 11:30 for me. So I'm gonna push this on to closing arguments if there are any. It's not like we're having a debate because we're really not. We're just talking about shit. But is there any kind of like last things you guys want to bring up before we call it?
I would say, looking at Marvel, it seems like Marvel are pulling one foot out of the mire and pushing the other foot further into it.
I'd like to close out by recommending some good Doctor Strange stories for everyone to read instead of the current iteration.
No, man, that's not allowed. Come on, dude, just go for it.
Okay, so for one thing, most of the Steve Englehart run is really good, with the exception of the time they tried to make Doctor Strange a more conventional superhero by changing his look. Those stories were shit, but this was back in the 60s when Marvel actually listened to their fans, so it only lasted for like 5 issues or something like that. Also, a lot of really good standalone Doctor Strange graphic novels exist. In particular, Triumph and Torment and Into Shambhala. You might not be able to find Into Shambhala very easily, but it's really worth looking into. It's one of the best standalone Doctor Strange stories. Don't read The Oath. No matter what anyone tells you, The Oath is not worth it. The Oath is so overexposed, and I'm sick to death of The Oath. Also, Doctor Strange the Doctor is in, which I believe was a arc from the 90s, and even a very recent story, which was Doctor Strange Flight of Bones. The last truly great Doctor Strange story, though, was, like I was saying earlier, Strange Tales Volume 2, which you can get in trade form on Amazon for anyone who's looking for it.
Or your local comic shop.
Yes, you could also do that. I just always default to Amazon because it's generally easier for people that aren't familiar with a particular hero to start by just ordering something online and seeing if they like it. Although, if you really want a good like universal background in Doctor Strange for fairly cheap, there are 3 Doctor Strange epic collections, one of which is yet to come out. That is the first 10 or 20 issues of Doctor Strange from the Steve Ditko era, which are fairly cheap, and they cover 3 distinct eras of Doctor Strange that are all really good. So yeah, Doctor Strange Epic Collections is probably the best bang for your buck if you're looking for Doctor Strange stories.
Feisty, got anything to say?
Wolverine doesn't need heat claws. That's all I got.
Of course he does. It's like having a heated toilet seat or heated seats in your car. It's a luxury item.
Fuck you.
I deserve that.
I'm just waiting for like Wolverine like cooking food on them like rotisseries or like.
Okay, there is an issue. I forget what it was, but he actually does. He's got like shish kebabs on his claws. Yeah, but they weren't heated claws.
So he has his own oven in his claws now.
I think.
Fuck you.
I think instead of heated claws, he should have come back with a Swiss Army claw.
Yeah, it all makes sense now. He's Canadian. How else is he to keep his hands warm when he's in the frozen north?
Fucking hate all of you right now.
There's going to be one issue where you're saying go to the.
Thank you, Elijah.
The door,
I do what I can.
The door's shut, right? And then we'll hear. Then there'll be this speech bubble with a horrified shriek.
I hate every single one of you guys right now. I hate
it's
you all.
done out of love, Feisty. It's totally done out of love.
I know. I'm not being serious, so.
I know you do.
Sympathetic hug, Feisty.
Yes.
Sympathetic internet hug.
Okay.
This is my one more day. This is my one more day.
Seriously, it really is. It's crazy.
I don't think they've gotten that bad in Doctor Strange yet. There is no Doctor Strange one more day, except for maybe Last Days of Magic.
Okay, let's get to the pimping of channels and YouTubes and Twitters and the whatnots. We'll start with you, Batman.
I'm just on Twitter.
He's
Batman
just on Twitter.
Only.
Dalton.
Right. I am Dalton Mortimer. I am the Authenticator. My channel is the Authenticator. My current content on there is a series of audio-only rants, which I call the Storm Before the Calm rants. The first one is out. It is part one of what is hopefully going to be a two-part rants. The second part of which was supposed to be out last week, but then I got sick and sleep deprived. So as soon as I'm feeling 100% again, I will probably be spending most of the weekend working on it, and it'll be out by like Wednesday of next week.
Nice.
You can follow me on Twitter at the Authenticator, spelled without the U, and you can follow me just about everywhere else, including Minds and Discord, at the Authenticator, spelled properly. Cheers, everyone.
Feisty.
Hi, I'm Feisty comic fan. I should change it to Feisty Wolverine fan, but I'm more feisty right now and salty because of heat claws. Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at Feisty comic fan. I have a YouTube channel, Feisty fan. I don't even know what it is, but yeah, you can follow. I don't make promises about videos because I pretty much do them when I feel like it. So maybe I'll have content, maybe I will. I am working on a few things, but I manage a shop and that takes a lot of energy. So
so are you going from the Comics Division School of Video Uploads?
Yes, I've learned well, Master. They'll be waiting forever.
It's not that hard.
Elijah is currently giving me shit over the fact that I only have one video.
One video more I've got.
It has like 53 views though, so I did pretty okay, and I'm currently sitting at like 24 subscribers, which isn't a bad day's work when you consider it's only been out for like 2 weeks.
Do you want me to make you eat your own heart? I have no video. I do not make videos, but I have 171 subscribers.
That's so ridiculous. I don't get how that works.
We need to start doing streams on your channel then, Batman. Is what we need to do, because apparently you need more than 100 subscribers to do streams, and it's
no, you don't. I don't have 100, and I do live streams.
I thought that was a thing. Okay,
nope,
I was wrong.
Apparently not.
Well, it's a thing. It's a thing according to YouTube's current rules. I'm guessing because your channel existed before the rule change.
Maybe. Many years later, I have 3 videos.
No, I thought that was for. No, it's been like that for a while. I thought, but
no, I'm able to live. I live streamed with Oz, Chris, and Tehlim, and we talked about comic shops in Australia.
Yeah,
very informative stream, by the way. Go and take a listen. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, all the fun stuffs.
Okay.
Yes. Please do subscribe to my channel and watch.
No, just kidding.
Watch You do realize that people like you more than me, Feisty. So if you say no, they're not going to do it now.
People like you more than me, and you've now abused that privilege.
Yes.
God damn you.
That's for triggering me with heat claws.
Maverick, I'll have to say, in 45 years, I'll be dead. Most likely. I'll be dead.
No, but yeah, go follow all these wonderful gentlemen. If you haven't subscribed to Comics Division and you're here, fuck you.
What are you doing here?
Moochers, wastrels, and ne'er-do-wells, all of you.
Let's see. Jonah Art's asking for a link. I guess if you search for Feisty Fan, you can find her. Same thing with Dalton. Search for the Authenticator.
I will give you a link, Comix, and you can put it in the video description.
I could put it in the description.
Right. I think all you have to do is find where Feisty's put something in chat, click beside the name, and you can go to the channel. Yeah.
There's that too. As for me, of course, I'm Comics Division. Hopefully you know that because this is my channel after all. If you are currently listening, if you can go ahead and hit that like button, that would be fantastic because it would help out the channel if you haven't done so already. If you are from the future and watching this while we are not live, if you could do the same thing. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that bell for instant notifications. Wow, I actually got my outro down for a change. And until next time, folks, enjoy your reads.
Cheers, everyone.